I, like a lot of you, was left feeling slightly empty after watching Tony Ferguson tamely beaten down by Beneil Dariush on his way to what was his third straight defeat in the UFC's lightweight division. Just like the Gaethje and Oliveira fights before it, seeing the usually dynamic and electric Ferguson reduced to an increasingly subpar version of himself was not an easy watch by any means. As I've said on many occasions in the past, Tony has been a favourite of mine for years now, both as a fighter and as one of the most compelling characters to have ever laced up gloves. But watching this recent string of defeats has made me doubt that El Cucuy can be competitive at the highest of levels. In fact, as unfortunate as it might be, I wouldn't feel confident picking him against any of the current 155-pound top 10. It has just become apparent to me that despite his strong and resilient mind, his force of will that will likely never be fully diminished, the man's body has been through the ringer, and that's putting it lightly. Where a touch of speed, dexterity, and overall flexibility would have been the thing to make a difference in the past, the Tony we've seen of late has looked flat, uninspired, and surprisingly one-dimensional when things aren't going his way. I can't say with full certainty that he won't recover his form, that he won't be able to secure another big win before his inevitable retirement. But at this stage, we know how this sport works, and the miles that are on Ferguson's tank have very clearly caught up with him. And that makes me upset. I really do wish this guy the best of luck with both the remainder of his fighting career and with his post-UFC life. But if there's one thing that we can say for sure, given his response to the defeat at the hands of Dariush, it's that Tony is still looking for a fight, still looking to compete under the UFC banner. And while 90% of fighters will say that, regardless of their current form, I do still believe that Ferguson has a place within the UFC, and if he can find the right matchups, ones that see him focus less on regaining his standing within the title picture, I do believe that he can continue to be competitive. I would have laughed off the idea had it been pitched to me about a year ago, but given Tony's large frame and his status as the winner of TUF Season 13 as a welterweight, I think the perfect fight for this future Hall of Famer might involve welcoming the former Strikeforce champion Nick Diaz back to the octagon. Now, I realise that this fight is weird on so many levels, but when I actually stopped and thought about the pros and cons of setting up two of my 5 all-time favourite fighters, to say that it made more sense would be a massive understatement. Look, the notion of setting these guys up for a fight that could potentially break the competitive viability of the loser doesn't sit well with me as a fan, but in terms of the spectacle, the unknowns, and the stylistic clash on paper, I'm actually kind of smitten by this fight. Nick Diaz hasn't competed in 6 years, a period of time that saw him bouncing between being devoted to his training and generally just enjoying the fruits of his long and successful career within the sport of mixed martial arts, but he does seem to be committed to a return, although it can be hard to know exactly how much of a bearing that may have on his negotiations with the UFC. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel now to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads, before leaving a comment to let YouTube's algorithms know that we're fast becoming one of the best MMA channels on the platform. Nick and Dana have always had something of a turbulent relationship, a clear collision of personalities and interest, as Diaz's disdain towards everything that Dana and the UFC value caused an increasing level of tension between the two during Nick's second UFC stint. But if we are to assume that the two can reach a deal, and Nick's desire to compete continues to blossom through the second half of this year, if the UFC are looking to cash in on Diaz's everlasting appeal to the masses, I think taking these two aging veterans in Tony and Nick and setting them up for a welterweight clash would be a fitting use of these two valuable UFC rostered athletes, because realistically, even if I feel like Tony should be favoured due to his high activity levels and his presence within the lightweight top 5, Diaz, if he can get himself into shape, will have the attributes necessary to at the very least make it a fun spectacle. The size will likely favour Nick, and though I would probably back Tony to even the gap due to his modern approach and recent outings against top tier opposition, there are still many unknowns that may impact our expectations about what Ferguson can still do, just as there are many factors about Nick's own return that are outside of the realms of our perception. How much has he maintained his high cardio workouts during this 6-year spell? How much has he paid attention to the growth of the sport and its advancement over the last half-decade? Has he been a presence in the gym, helping the rising prospects within his ranks as they look to make their own ascent into the top flight of mixed martial arts? To be honest, as much as we feel like we know about what Nick has been doing with his life, through the various social media posts and TMZ updates we receive, in reality we're only really getting a snapshot, something that doesn't reveal the extent of his passions. And in my eyes, the unknowns that surround both of these men and their current ability to compete makes this fight enough of an oddity to drive my interest. Even before my own personal investment in these guys and their respective trajectories comes into play, if we're talking about Ferguson and Diaz in terms of their skill sets, there are similarities similarities between them that could truly spring up a wild contest. Both are known for their cardio, their high output, their excellent submission offense, their chins, and their steadily increasing work rate. And though I think there is a chance that both men have lost many or all of these traits to some degree, I think pairing them up together for a 170-pound clash will give us the perfect battleground to allow us to better understand exactly what they have left to give. It was my first thought as soon as I saw Dariush handling Tony at UFC 262, and to say that I'm even more into this fight now would be putting it lightly. But what do you think about a matchup between Ferguson and Diaz at this stage of both of their respective careers? And if it was booked, who do you think should be favoured to take home the win? Do let us know in the comment section below. We always love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thanks for watching.